Before we start today, I have to tell you about State Farm agent Bryant. A lot of our listeners have gone to him for all their insurance needs, and he's been very helpful in getting them the coverage they deserve. There's no games with Bryant. He's just here to help and make sure you feel safe. So if you have insurance needs and you haven't called him yet, what are you waiting for? Dial up the number, 630-796-2662. That's 630-796-2662. Or find him online at bryantismyagent.com. That's bryantismyagent.com, and make sure to mention Sports Talk Chicago. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. I want to start today with this. How do we determine someone's worth? Common answer is the market, right? Let the market determine how they're paid, who they're employed by, and how many benefits come to them. It's a fair strategy, but sometimes it overpays. Sometimes it underpays. I like to evaluate people and their worth based on merit and merit alone. Do you have skills? Do you perform? You a good worker? What do you do for your company? Merit. That determines how much money you should get paid. Not, well, this guy's making that, I'm not talented, but I'm going to ask for that anyways. That's how it works, and I get it. I don't like it, though, personally, especially in the context of sports. In case you didn't know, Javier Baez may want a contract extension. Now that itself is ridiculous. I wouldn't pay that guy a penny, but that's besides the point. Let's say he really cares about the Cubs, wants to stay for a while, be a franchise player, even though he isn't, but let's assume he is. A report came out by Jon Heyman claiming that Baez would be looking for $200 million. Quote, I've heard speculation that all free agent shortstops will get $200 million something. We'll see. Trevor Story and Corey Seager are shooting for $300 something, but I would think Baez would be $200 million plus. I don't think they're there yet, but if they get there, maybe they could have a deal soon. I think I speak for all Cubs fans when I say that's a ripoff. I've never seen more agreement about this, about anything Cubs related. That's a ripoff. It doesn't mean Javier Baez is a bad player. It doesn't mean that no one cares about him. It doesn't mean that the fan base is turned on him. It just means that at $200 million, Javier Baez is not worth it. The Cubs have a limited payroll, quote unquote. Why would you spend your money on him? Make the case. Based on merit. Pretty hard case to make. You know, Javier Baez's top similarity score on Baseball Reference is Jonathan Schoop. Well, then ask yourself this. Would you pay Jonathan Schoop $200 million? Half of you probably don't even know who Jonathan Schoop is. He's second baseman with the Detroit Tigers. He used to be with the Orioles and the Brewers. Would you pay him $200 million? I don't think so. So would you pay Javier Baez $200 million? No. Maybe the numbers will tell me a different story. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, let's see. 890 career strikeouts against 142 walks. Averages 28 homers, 88 RBIs a year. That's great. 83 runs scored, 778 OPS. Would you pay somebody with a 778 OPS $200 million? A 103 OPS plus career. That's 3% above average. Would you pay him $200 million? You could say, well, Javi had that near MVP year. Yeah, in 2018. What's he done since then? And here's the kicker. I remember when Baez debuted in 2014, hit a $1.69. Cubs demoted him. Came back for a little bit in 2015, then really got his footing in 2016. They demoted him because they said at the time, too many strikeouts. 95 strikeouts in 52 games. And they said, this is unsustainable. Go back to AAA and work. Well, supposedly he worked, But yet I sit here today talking to you, and he has 121 strikeouts against 14 walks in 82 games. So what'd he work on? Oh, no, that's right, because now he's an established superstar. You can't send him down anymore. So what he worked on, what he got better at, really is just regression. Now, if you're talking 2018 and you said pay him $200 million, unfortunately, the Cubs would probably do it. I'd even agree with it at the time. He was at his peak. But today, it's pretty apparent to me, it should be to you, that this guy is not worth $200 million. I'd say barely $100 million. He should make about $20 million a year. That's fair for a guy his caliber. Good defender, power hitter, strikes out a lot, can hit for average. I'd pay him $100 million. That's being fair. Nothing more. I'm telling you, never seen more agreement on this. I'm actually very surprised. All the Cubs super fans actually agreeing that Javier Baez isn't worth the money. I'm shocked. Thought he was Mr. Fan Favorite. Well, fan favorite and actually performing, two completely different things. And I know a lot of Cubs fans who've actually been very aggravated by him. Extremely aggravated. Not because he's a bad guy, but because the problems are persistent. He was sent out for a reason. And yet here we stand today, and the problem is worse. Isn't better, it's worse. Even go back to 2014. At least that year, 52 games, 9 homers, 20 RBIs, 169, 95 strikeouts, 15 walks. This year, 82 games, 14 walks, and 121 strikeouts. He has less walks in 30 more games. I'm not saying walks are great. I'm not saying go up and look for a walk. But when you compare those two numbers, it's obvious that he's not a disciplined hitter. That's the problem. I don't care if you walk 4 times and strike out 5 times. That's great. All year. Great. But when you're striking out 120 times and you're walking 14 times, well, that's a bit of a problem. Now we have all this extension talk. Baez said, quote, if anything happens, I'm ready, we're here. I think it's time to focus to get back into first place. Yeah, right. And get back on track to make the playoffs. I'm not really paying attention to that. Well, that's a nice answer. This team is not going to the playoffs, but that's besides the point. He has to say that. What I'm happy about is he didn't at least affirm it. Because if Baez came out and actually said, I deserve $200 million, that would not be good for him. Not just from me, I'm talking about from everybody. Because no one supports this idea. Cubs super fans don't support this idea. I'm unbiased, and I'm telling you, it doesn't work. It won't work. A $200 million player should make an impact. Well, what have the Cubs done this year? If Baez wants to be paid $200 million, what has he done to push the Cubs in the right direction? Nothing. Yes, he leads the team in WAR at 2.8, but the team is a game under 500. He's hitting .244. He has 121 strikeouts. Tell me how that's worth $200 million. The issue is that he may get it. Not from the Cubs, but from somebody. Because the market dictates what you're paying. Jason Hayward was paid $180+ million to hit 209. Perspective. Why? At the time, he was the number 1 free agent outfielder, and the Cubs were suckers in paying him that much money. But they did. They needed somebody, and I guess they won a World Series because of his defense, but not his bat. His bat's never been there. So they're paying $180+ million for defense. And they did get screwed with that contract. No question. But it happened. Market said he's the best guy out there, and the market paid him his fair share. Now, the good thing is, for next year, the shortstop class will be loaded. Story, Seager, Simeon, then Baez. Baez is worse, much worse than those three. It's not even a comparison. Carlos Correa is going to be out there too. I'd say Baez and Correa are about equal. So I highly doubt he'll get the $200 million. If he did, I'd be shocked. And I really hope it's not from the Cubs. I'm warning everybody right now, bad idea. Bad idea to pay him $200 million. I'd say differently if 2018 happened in 2019, 2020, and this year. If Baez was putting up an 880 OPS every single season, I'd say do it. Great move. Bargain. But not for this. I'm not going to pay somebody who's hitting 244 with 121 strikeouts in 82 games $200 million. I don't care how good his defense is. The Cubs made the same mistake with Hayward. Great defense, he'll hit. No, he won't. And if Baez is on this trajectory now, and he's 28 years old, he was already sent down to fix up these problems and they weren't fixed. And he's been in the league this long now. Do you really think they're ever going to be fixed? Especially if big money is involved. You know the answer to that, and I do too. Not saying he's a bad guy. I'm not saying he's bad for the team. Good team chemistry guy. But he doesn't put up numbers. It's a bottom line business. Do you help us win? On the field. Because if team morale really mattered, or if it mattered a lot, then the Cubs would pay somebody $30 million a year to take control of the dugout. They don't do that. No team does that. You could be a rah-rah, happy team guy, but if you don't put up any numbers or any sort of production, if you don't bring anything to the table, it's not going to work. At least in Hayward's case, he played good defense. I understood why he was given a World Series ring. Good defense, solid right field, good arm, made plays, great. Javier Baez this year has not done much. And remember, I talked about the market. There have been a number of players who've done what Javier Baez has done and have received no money. Jonathan Schoop is a great example. Jonathan Schoop is not a bad player. Better batting average. Similar power. Good defense. And the guy gets paid nothing. He's going on minor league contracts each and every year, but yet he's similar to Baez. A couple of years ago, anyone remember Kris Carter? Yeah, the same Kris Carter who led baseball in home runs with 41. The next year, wasn't even in Major League Baseball. Gone. Completely gone. No one wanted him because he struck out too much, didn't walk enough. The league leader in home runs could not find a contract for the next year. Think about that. So it's all dependent on the market. If it was truly dependent on numbers, Javier Baez would be in AAA right now. If some rookie came up with this slash line, with this many strikeouts and no walks, he would be demoted immediately. It wouldn't even get to this point. Now we're talking about $200 million? You're crazy. And I'm happy. For once, people are seeing it. I think now people are starting to realize, wow, this team really sucks. The delusion is starting to go away a bit. Keep thinking rationally. It's not feasible to pay Javier Baez $200 million to hit 20 to 30 home runs, strike out 200 times, and bat 240. It isn't. Not feasible. I'd rather go with an undrafted rookie. Some farmhand, at least. He has more potential. than settling for $200 million, paying all that money out to get subpar production. And tons of strikeouts, too. It's not worth it. It'd be way different if 2018 was repeated. If every year he's putting up 30 homers, 100 RBIs, hitting 290, oh my goodness, I'd pay him in a second. And I would have been wrong, because in 2018, if this talk came up, I would have said pay the guy whatever he wants. I would have had no problem with that. So we all would have had to eat our own words. If they paid him then he played like this. Now we've seen his progression. We've seen the best, but we've also seen the worst. So when you see the worst, and it's happening as we speak, would you pay him? Would you pay him any money? No. Let some other team overpay for Javier Baez. I wouldn't. Don't pay the guy a penny. Look, he won a World Series. Young kid, won a World Series, on a great team, cherished forever. He'll be cherished here no matter what. Let it be that. He's been given more than a lot of other players have been given. A lot of young guys. I mean, even think of Nico Hoerner. Hoerner didn't debut until really after the Cubs were great. Baez came up at just the right time and got to win a World Series. That's awesome. Hoerner didn't get that chance. Other players didn't get that chance. He did. So let it go. He won. Memories made. Runner-up to the MVP award. That's it. Time to move on. Unless there's a significant change, unless that number stays at 120 for strikeouts and he walks 40 or 50 times and batting average goes up to 280 and home runs go up to 30 or 40, but that's not going to happen. 2018 was his best year ever. If he could have replicated 2018 in 2019, 2020, 2021, I would have said, pay him whatever he wants. But that's just not the case. He's done nothing, especially this year, to impact games, to impact this team. If he did, it wouldn't be here. See, 2018, Kris Bryant was hurting. He stepped up. He impacted games, and the Cubs at least went somewhat far. At least they were considered contenders by that point because of Baez stepping up, runner-up to the MVP. This year, when they need him, when they have everybody healthy, Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, everybody's back, Contreras, what has he done? Nothing. That's the point. Logically, this makes no sense, and it's not even worth wasting your time thinking about it. He is not worth that money, and the Cubs have to make sure they stand firm when they're doing these negotiations. I'm all for keeping him around for a fair price. But if you overpay for him, it'll be Jason Hayward 2.0, but worse, because you developed him. You sent him down to AAA to work on stuff, and none of it's been worked on or corrected. Stand firm. Don't cave to emotions or feelings. Understand that you need to prepare for the future, and if Baez doesn't get better, not going to be a part of it. More to come here on Sports Talk Chicago. My interview with Dave Wills comes up next, so stay tuned.